That meeting with the CEO is coming up. You've been poring over the data and pulled a few high-level descriptive stats, but as you dig deeper into the sales data, you're having trouble seeing the trends in the numbers. Don't worry, data visualizations are here to help. We often think of data visualizations as being for our audience, but effective data visualization can help us analyze and reason. Before we begin, there are a lot of different styles of visualizations. We're going to cover just a few used heavily in our first statistics courses: line charts, bar charts, histograms, box and whisker charts, and scatter plots. Line plots typically show a time series. The series you see now happens to be the price of Tesla shares from 2019. With these charts, the x-axis tends to be the independent variable. That is, the variable whose value doesn't depend on anything else. This is almost always a measurement of time. Time doesn't change based on the price of Tesla, making it an independent variable. On the y-axis, you'll typically place your dependent variable, a variable whose value is dependent on the independent variable. Our price does depend on the date. Bar charts are helpful for displaying a variable across different categories. Now, those categories can be chunks of time, as shown here, where Tesla 3 production is chunked across different quarters. Since quarters have a natural progression, it does sort of create the sense of a time series like in our line plot, but the bar chart can work well when our categories have no natural progression. Consider this chart of the number of models produced by color. This method helps us to identify both the quantity and ratio. Histogram is similar to a bar chart. It provides an approximate representation of the distribution of a dataset. To create a histogram, data is put into bins. In this example, returns that are between 0 and 2% are being lumped into one bin and 2 to 4% in another. We've essentially created categories for our numbers based on ranges. You can see a bit of a positive skew in this chart of Tesla returns in 2019. They were having a bit of a run that year. Box and whisker charts shows us quartiles, but in graph form. In this case, we are shown daily gains of Tesla in 2019. We see the gains for H1 and H2. The median is represented by the horizontal line in the middle of the box. Sometimes the average is indicated by an X. The whiskers show us any extremes of our total range, while outliers that we may not have included are shown as dots lying outside that range. Each dot represents a single observation. They're a bit funny looking, but box and whiskers charts convey a lot of information in a very small space. You see the central tendency, range, and you even get a sense of the shape of the data. Its small size makes it great for when we have a lot of distributions which we want to compare. Finally, let's have a look at scatter plots. Scatter plots are useful for visualizing correlations or relationships between quantitative variables. When there is no correlation, the scatter appears a bit like a cloud. Correlations can be positive or negative, strong or weak, exponential, and more. Sometimes you'll see a regression line drawn through the middle. A regression line is a straight line that lies as close as possible to every point in the scatter plot. Okay, those are the 5 visualizations you'll want to be familiar with. Line charts and bar graphs are great for visualizing our descriptive statistics, like your sales data. Meanwhile, histograms, scatter plots, and box and whiskers are going to be useful as we move into inferential statistics and want to visualize differences, correlations, and distributions.